Well, my friends, it's that time of year when I get a chance to recharge my batteries. What that means is I get to lean back and think about our next season here on WXEL. So I've picked some of the best of this past season for you to enjoy. The word classic sometimes is used when something's just good or even very good. Well, this week we revisit my take on a couple of true classics. In the Bogart Hall of Fame, in fact, everybody's Hall of Fame, are these two films, The Ten Commandments and Breakfast at Tiffany's. We'll also have a couple of my favorite picks, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Clint Eastwood, and what a cast, and Goldfinger, Sean Connery and Gerhard Frobe, and of course, Carla's Campy Pics and your email comments and questions. So let's go. Now it's time for our program's classic film, and I've got a real epic for you. It's a blockbuster in the truest sense of the word, and one of the most watched films of all time. I'll bet every one of you's seen it. It's 1956's The Ten Commandments.
The Lord of hosts will do battle for us. Behold his mighty hand. God opens the sea with the blast of his nostrils. Lead them through the midst of the waters. His will be done.
This was legendary director Cecil B. DeMille's last movie. And in case you don't know, it's based on the book of Exodus. Basically, it's the story of Moses from the time he sent down the Nile River. Heston's own newborn son was baby Moses in this movie, through his leading the Hebrew slaves out of Egypt to the Promised Land. But did you know it was actually a remake of the 1923 version, which DeMille also directed? Check this out. How cool and powerful is that? But back to 1956. Here are some numbers for you. The Ten Commandments is the 6th highest grossing film of all time. If you adjust its gross for inflation, it's brought in over $1 billion. That's billion dollars. And the movie used 15,000 animals and 14,000 extras. No CG here. Real animals and real people. Watch now as Moses hands down the Ten Commandments.
He showed you no land flowing with milk and honey. I show you a God of gold. Come with me. Follow me.
Blasphemers, idolaters, for this you shall drink bitter waters. God has set before you this day his laws of life and good and death and evil. Those who will not live by the law shall die by the law.
You did not want to stand near the golden calf. But the cast, Charlton Heston, of course, as Moses, and also he was the voice of God. Yul Brynner, at the time, he was winning a Tony Award playing the king in The King and I on stage. He had to fly to Egypt, shot his scenes in one day, then back to the stage. Edward G. Robinson, Vincent Price, and Ann Baxter, who actually replaced my mom as Margot Channing in Applause on Broadway. And cameos galore. Herb Alpert, yes, Herb Alpert, but not the Tijuana Brass. Carl Switzer. Now, who's Carl Switzer? You know him as Alfalfa from The Little Rascals. Robert Vaughn, the man from U.N.C.L.E. Even a very young John Peters. Yep, that's Barbra Streisand's ex-husband as a kid riding a donkey. This is a spectacular, huge, fun, exciting movie. Sure, it's sometimes overly dramatic. Some of it stretches the imagination. But who cares? It's a classic, and it's one to be enjoyed. Sometimes a movie makes an actor, and sometimes an actor makes a movie. Rarely, though, do both actor and movie come together to reach such heights that they become that unexplainable phenomenon, an icon. It happened with my father in Casablanca, and it happened with this actress in this movie. The actress, Audrey Hepburn as Holly Golightly. The movie, Blake Edwards' masterpiece, 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany. The incredible Henry Mancini score, and of course the song, that gorgeous Oscar-winning song, Moon River, by Mancini and Johnny Mercer. Remember? What can you really say about this movie and this wonderful actress and this wonderful woman? Captivating, elegant, engaging, on screen and off. But back to the movie. A classic such as this doesn't happen by luck. It takes talent all the way through. And there was more than enough of that. Blake Edwards, he was Julie Andrews' future hubby, his sensitive, beautiful direction. And the cast, Pat Neal, Martin Balsam, Buddy Ebsen, George Peppard, even the casting, in my mind, another film icon, Mickey Rooney, as Mr. Yunioshi. Rooney's role as an Asian, for obvious reasons, caused a lot of controversy. And Edwards later said if he had one thing to do over, he wouldn't have cast Rooney in the role. But nothing could take away from the mood, the feeling, the love in this movie. Now tell me that doesn't bring a little tear to your eyes. The screenplay is so emotional, so brilliant by George Axelrod, who also wrote The 7-Year Itch and The Manchurian Candidate. By the way, he and wife Joan were closest friends with my father and mother. I remember being on my father's boat, the Santana, with both of them. And their son John was one of my best friends growing up in LA. I remember them all. And the novel, written by Truman Capote, who actually wanted Marilyn Monroe to play the lead. He loved Marilyn Monroe. But Paramount, to their credit, chose Audrey, and the movie was hers. It cemented her status as the most loved female movie star of all time, which she still is. Talent brought together. That's what really making a great movie, not a good movie, a great movie, is all about. And that's what this film had. And look at what we got. Enough said. For a classic movie pick this week, take a look at 1957's gritty, in the proverbial gutter, Sweet Smell of Success. I love this movie. It stars Burt Lancaster. I fell for him as an actor when I saw him in his brilliant Oscar-winning role as Elmer Gantry. He stars in this film as uber-powerful New York gossip columnist J.J. Hunsaker, and Tony Curtis as the scraping-the-bottom press agent Sidney Falco. If you had any doubt about Tony Curtis's talent, you won't after you see this movie. And Lancaster, well, he was Lancaster at his best.
May I ask you a naive question, Mr. Falco? Exactly how does a press agent work?
Well, answer the man, Sidney. He's trying to take you off the hook.
You just saw a good example of it, Senator. A press agent eats a columnist dirt and is expected to call it manna.
But don't you help columnists by furnishing them with items?
Sure. A columnist can't do without us, except our good and great friend JJ forgets to mention that. You see, we furnish him with items.
What, some cheap, gruesome gags?
You print them, don't you?
Yes, with your clients' names attached. That's the only reason the poor slobs pay you, to see their names in my column all over the world. Now I make it out you're doing me a favor?
I didn't say
The day I can't get along without a press agent's handouts, I'll close up shop and move to Alaska lock, stock, and barrel.
The movie revolves around Falco, whose business is failing, whose clients are dwindling, and who will do anything to get back on top. He can't get his clients into Hunsaker's gossip column. Falco is done, so he agrees to do some real dirty work for Hunsaker, to set up the boyfriend of Hunsaker's sister, that's jazzman Steve Dallas, to break the two up. By the way, you'll recognize Steve Dallas. He's played by Martin Milner, who you'd see later on TV as Pete Malloy in Adam 12. Remember? One Adam 12, one Adam 12. Those of us a little older would also remember him as Todd Stiles in the TV series starring Broderick Crawford, Route 66.
Looks like a wedding. You look lovely, dear.
Steve, you've met my brother?
Of course. Frank? Well, son, looks like you went out and got a packet of trouble for yourself, hmm?
You've been very kind about it, Mr. Hunsaker.
Give Susie credit for that. I took her word there was nothing to the smear. As a matter of fact, I'll have plenty to say about smears on my show today. And that's why I'd like your personal assurance, too.
Mr. Hunsaker, there is nothing to the smear. You have my sincere word.
I'll buy that. Now, you do me a favor. Be good to my kid sister.
Yeah, she's had a lot of trouble for a kid.
Susie has her girlish secrets. But in her heart of hearts, I imagine, Dallas, she fancies you in an uncommon way.
And there are a couple of cameos to look for as well. Famous American playwright and co-screenwriter Clifford Odets, who also went before Congress in 1952, as did my father, during the Senator Joe McCarthy-led communist witch hunt hearings. He stars as a man outside a theater. Odets also, by the way, had an affair with Fay Wray of King Kong fame. There she is. Talk about film noir, this is one of the best. And my favorite, best line?
I like Harry, but I can't deny he sweats a little.
Don't try to come back or I'll throw you out again.
Just a minute. My heart's in here and I paid you.
Leave him alone! Leave him alone!
I love this dirty town.
J.J. Hunsaker, Burt Lancaster, I love this dirty town. Lancaster does it a lot better than I do. Great line, great stuff, great movie. Now it's time to dip into the Bogart on Movies mailbox. Earlier in this program, I talked about the Ten Commandments, a great movie. Well, by coincidence, here's an email from one of our viewers about that same movie. Marianne in Palm Beach Gardens writes, I attended a Catholic grammar school and the nuns took us to the opening of the Ten Commandments in New York, of course. You can imagine what an impression it made on me, and it's lasted to this day. Do you have a childhood memory of a film that stayed with you through the years? Actually, I do. My next birthday after my father died, I was allowed to pick any movie for a private screening for me and my friends. The movie I picked? A little-known horror movie called The Night of the Blood Beast. It's about a team of scientists stalked by an alien creature. The movie was directed by Roger Corman. It was a scientific B thriller, but whether it's because it was just after my father's death or what, for some reason, that's one movie that stuck with me. You can email me, send me your comments and questions to stevebogart@wxel.org and include your name and your hometown. This week for Carla's Campy Pick, Carla's picked the 1957 flick The Amazing Colossal Man, which I loved and which some have called Mr. Clean in Diapers. Watch him grow on you.
She's a girl who loved a man. A man who, in a flash, became a living threat to humanity. A danger so awe-inspiring that they tried to hide his existence from the world.
What happened? What made him grow?
Glenn Manning is growing from 8 to 10 feet a day. At the moment, he's 18 feet tall. Tomorrow, he'll be 26 feet. The next day, 35, maybe 40, and the next day...
But you've got to stop it.
I don't want to grow anymore.
Day and night, scientists search, trying every experiment their brilliant minds can conceive, finding the expected, the unexpected, and the shocking. For the immeasurable power of this ever-growing mammoth portends a fate that terrifies the universe.
Drive it in hard. We have to penetrate the bone in the first ejection. Ready?
Look out, he's reaching down.
We want to help you to get well.
Manning's disappeared, Eric. We can't find him anywhere on the grounds.
Police Chief Benson has asked me to tell you to stay in your homes. Stay in your homes.
A man once loved by a woman, now feared by the whole world.
A 60-foot giant in the streets of Las Vegas.
I'll bet they couldn't find a suit for this guy even in the big and tall men's shop.
The two of you are beginning a strange journey. A journey that no Earth people have ever undertaken before.
Universal International presents the most startling, the most imaginative and suspenseful science fiction drama ever brought to the screen. You'll marvel at the superior intelligence that unleashes its deadly ray.
Steve! Steve!
Or can kidnap an airplane in flight.
They're pulling us up.
Prisoners hurtling through endless space, speeding toward the unearthly furies of a planet gone mad. See sights never before dreamed by man. The battle between guided meteors and deadly rays.
They're gonna hit us! They're gonna hit us!
A planet doomed to destruction. While captive Earth people fight for their lives.
It is indeed typical that you Earth people refuse to believe in the superiority of any world but your own. Run, Ruth, run!
And now it's time for the segment I call Steve's Real Hits. That's where I get to pick a great movie I grew up with, and right now I have a doozy for you. It's got what I think is the best theme music ever, great acting, including the coming out of what is now a film icon, a brilliant director, and all in all, just a great movie. Sergio Leone's 1966 classic to be, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly. The blue, the gray, the Civil War. The questions. The answers. The showdown. The goal.
That is so cool. This was the third part of the so-called Dollars trilogy, which includes A Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More. I remember going to a triple feature of the trilogy with my brother Jason in 1966, sitting in a seedy Times Square, New York movie theater and having the movie time of my life. When we walked out, though, it was this movie we were talking about. First, the cast. The Good, Blondie, the man with no name, Clint Eastwood. This is the movie that really started to catapult Eastwood's rise to what he is now, a movie icon in the truest sense of the word. By the way, I thought he was a riot at the Republican convention. Then the bad, Lee Van Cleef, Angel Eyes, whose career was revitalized by this movie, and the ugly, Tuco, the brilliant Eli Wallach, who amazingly never won an Oscar. He and his wife, the wonderful Ann Jackson, both friends of my father and my mother, and they remain friends of my mom to this day. You've got the director, Sergio Leone, the king of so-called spaghetti westerns. He was asked to direct The Godfather, but turned it down. Say thank you, Francis Ford Coppola. And the theme music, composed by Ennio Morricone, an icon unto itself. You actually feel when you hear it. The most well-known non-song in film history, Bond notwithstanding. So once again, enjoy this great movie. Now it's time for my pick, and we're going to look at Bond, James Bond. Did I do that well? And the best of the Bond actors, Sean Connery, with the best Bond theme song in the best Bond movie, 1964's Goldfinger.
My name is James Bond.
Gentlemen, Mr. Goldfinger has gold bullion on deposit in Zurich, Amsterdam, Caracas, and Hong Kong. As yet, we have failed to discover how he transfers his gold overseas.
I think it's time Mr. Goldfinger and I met.
Mr. Bond?
Yes?
This is Mr. Goldfinger. Many people have tried to involve themselves in my affairs.
Don't go back to your hotel, senor. They'll be watching you.
Choose your next witticism carefully, Mr. Bond. It may be your last. Who are you?
My name is Pussy Galore.
Baltimore. Nice of him to let us know. Last we heard he was in Switzerland.
Operation Grand Slam. I did enjoy your reading. You learned to break into the world's largest bank. Not to steal anything.
You hardly distinguished yourself anyway. You were supposed to observe Mr. Goldfinger and not bottom his gold. This isn't a personal vendetta, 007. It's an assignment like any other.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I mean, come on. You got Connery as the best Bond. You've got Honor Blackman as one of the great names in movie history, Pussy Galore. You've got the iconic Bond villain, Oddjob. What more do you need? Okay, it was the first Bond film to win an Oscar for sound editing. It was the first to use the line, "A martini, shaken, not stirred." It had that iconic theme sung by Shirley Bassey, the only positive highlight of this year's Oscars Bond retrospective. And it had that beauty of an Aston Martin. It had the wonderful Gert Frobe as the man with the Midas touch and that Goldfinger. You need more? Watch the movie.